So, welcome to Sunset Yoga. A little bit different today than it has been. The good news is we are still going to get a wonderful sunset here in the desert because there's all kinds of sky drama outside. The bad news is all that sky drama has forced me to come inside today. Highly windy, highly stormy, and a lot of lightning too. So, welcome to my tiny home. See just how tiny we are. I'll do my best to demonstrate as much as I can, but of course, I'm going to be talking through everything we're doing today. And so I'll do my best to just explain and be as detailed as possible. The equipment that we will need for today's dancer yoga or yoga for dancers session will be a strap if you've got it or a belt. And you can keep your blocks nearby. Mine are keeping this door open so we've got some light. Of course, if you need the blocks, then use them, but we might not need them today. And depending on our flexibility, we might not need the strap either. And of course, have some water nearby, and that should be about it. So, as usual, we're going to get started in a nice, comfortable seated posture. Since this is a little bit different of a session today, I'm going to be on my knees instead of in a half lotus, since we're really going to just jump right into some flows. But still, we want to get ourselves balanced and centered and grounded. So, however way we are sitting, we're going to close our eyes, wiggle ourselves out a little bit, placing our hands on our knees or our thighs or in our lap. Taking nice, deep inhales in through the nose, out through our mouth. Again, in through our nose and out through our mouth. One more time, in through our nose, nice tall spine, out through our mouth. Continuing to be connected, continuing to connect with our breathing. Just going to take this in and out through our nose. Can maintain closed eyes or open them for a gentle stare just in front of us. Setting an intention for today's practice. For the next hour, if we find our mind getting a little crazy, thoughts start rushing around, if we lose touch with our breathing, just a thing for us to come back to. And today, I might want to change it up. But today, my intention is to make it mine. Everyone that might be doing this practice might not be a dancer, and that's all right. We can still make this practice our own. Or whatever it is that we're doing, we can make it ours, throw our little bit of spice into it. If you got your own intention for this hour, great. Let's take another breath to focus on that. Opening our eyes, dropping our arms down, palms facing up towards the sky. We inhale, arms up. Exhale, turning palms away, pushing them down. And again, inhale, arms up. And pushing them down. Beginning to fire up the arms, bringing them up. And down. This time, bringing our arms up, keeping them there. Palms facing each other, parallel to one another, pulling those shoulders back and down. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, relax the shoulders. Inhale, lengthen tall. Exhale, leaning over to one side. Grounding in whatever is touching our mat here. Bringing shoulders, bringing our arms up a little further back to our ears. Next inhale, we come straight up. Exhale, over to the other side. Grounding again. Feeling that maybe we're tipping over a little bit. Touching both of my knees to the mat. Bringing those arms back towards my ears. Still lengthening through that other side. Inhale, back up. Exhale, release down. Rolling our shoulders out. We're gonna come to our tabletop. So if I'm here on my knees, I'll just come forward, hands under my shoulders. Otherwise, rolling over to our side, bringing ourselves forward. We're gonna spread our fingers nice and wide on the mat. We're gonna go through some cat-cows here. So pushing the mat away, having a nice flat back. Inhale, head looks up, hips turning up, big belly down. Exhale, drawing my belly in, turning my pelvis under. Inhale, arching my back, looking up. Exhale, curling, pushing the mat away, shoulder stretch, keeping it moving with your breathing. Trying to push the tops of my feet into the mat, spreading my hands, my palms onto the mat. One more good inhale. Exhale, bringing spine neutral. And here, I like the name of this. We're gonna do a wild kitty. So we're gonna take our spine in a circle. We inhale, looking up. As we start to rotate over to the other side, we exhale, curling the back just like we did. Inhale, bring your head up, circling the spine. Really feeling our back and our sides, our torso, our core stretching out. And moving the other direction. Still inhale when we look up, exhale when we look down. One more good inhale, exhale, and bringing our spine back neutral. Tucking our toes under, pushing our hips back, and walking our feet in. Coming to stand. Moving our fingers around, moving our wrists around. We are going to do some downward dogs just as usual in our flow, which I love. So we want to get our wrists prepared for those. Let's interlace our fingers, roll our hands around, both directions, and changing that interlace, moving them around, and the other direction. So we're going to start with something that I want to call a mountain fall. So it's kind of like a waterfall. I'm thinking of a waterfall with my body, but we're starting in our mountain pose. So we're going to start either at the top of your mat or anywhere in your mat, really. Want to stand here so you can see as much of me as possible. Grounding in my feet first. Feet are hips or shoulder distance apart. Spreading out my toes, getting them to grip the mat just a little bit. Engaging my legs. I don't want to lock my knees out. Engaging the legs, drawing the knees up, tucking my pelvis under, stacking my spine, shoulders come back, arms are open. We can also choose to have our hands here in prayer if that's more comfortable, or you just need to center yourself for another moment. We're going to come to here. Once we're ready on an exhale, then we inhale, arms up. Exhale, open up the arms, falling our chest down, bending our legs, letting our arms come forward. We inhale, sweep them back up behind us. And we exhale, fall down again, swinging the arms forward. Inhale, bring those arms up. Exhale, coming down. Swinging forward, making this a little bit more dynamic with each breath. Keeping the legs bent as we're in that fold. One more inhale, arms up, and bring our arms down. So we're going to add our chair pose into this. When we come down into this fall, arms come forward. They're going to sweep all the way up, get next to our ears. We're going to keep those legs bent and sink into our chair. Staying here for 3 breaths. Then we're going to let this fall again and bring ourselves back up all the way. arms down. We'll bring our arms up, swing them back and forward, land in that chair, sinking hips down, arms up by our ears, staying there for 3 breaths, and bring ourselves up, arms down. We're gonna go for 3 rounds of that. Getting ourselves ready, grounding those feet, opening up our arms, connecting with our breathing. And inhale, arms up. Exhale, sweeping down. And bringing it up into our chair, arms right there at our ears. Pelvis tucks under, sinking into those heels, lifting chest up. And falling, bringing it up, and arms down. Again, lifting up and sweeping into that chair. Each inhale, we bring that our chest up. Exhale, hips sink down a little further. And inhale, lengthen. Exhale, release. Last one. And falling into our chair. Chest up, hips low. Gaze is trying to look up, trying not to break that spine, and release. Lifting up and releasing the arms. Lovely. Firing up our spine, firing up our core, shoulders. Good times. Let's inhale, arms up, and fold forward, grabbing for our legs, our knees, our shin, or our feet, or the floor. Just letting our head hang here. Next inhale, chest comes up, flat back, and exhale, release down. Inhale, ground into those feet and lift chest up, arms up, release arms down. Lovely. So we're going to start going up, going into a kind of sun salutation. It's like a dancer salutation. So I want to talk through this next move so we can link it together. What we're going to do is think of doing an upward dog. So we'll be in our plank, and we're going to take our hips, our legs down. So usually in our upward dog, our thighs are not touching the mat, which you can't quite see here because my torso is hiding my legs. But usually our thighs are not touching. We're on the tops of our feet here, rolling shoulders back, pushing the mat away. Now for this one, we want to tuck our toes under, keep them tucked under, and take our feet a little wider. As we push up the chest, we're gonna try and dip our pelvis down a little bit. Now it might not touch, depending on your flexibility, but we're just gonna dip it down enough to start to feel a stretch here in our hip flexor, okay? So then, we're going to push up into that upward dog modification, and then we're going to untuck those toes, bring our chest down, push ourselves back into a child's pose. So our string of movements is going to look like coming down into this, opening the feet, hips go down, chest comes up. 1, 2, 3, 4, bringing ourselves down, untucking toes, pushing chest back, child's pose. And we go back into our plank, spread our feet, and go into another round. So starting from our standing, we're gonna bring ourselves down, since we're stringing this together like a dancer salutation, grounding into our mountain pose again. Here at the top of our mat this time, giving ourselves some room. Next, inhale, arms up, and folding down, reaching for those legs. Inhale, flat back, looking up. Exhale, hands come down, stepping back into our plank. Taking our feet wide, hips come down, chest comes up, rolling shoulders back and down. Left hip, right hip, left hip, right hip, or our thigh. One more. And taking these down, untucking toes, chest comes down, pushing back, child's pose. Using those hands to push your hips closer to your heels, stretching out the lower back, doing a nice counter stretch to that activity. Next, inhale, looking up through the hands. Exhale, bringing ourselves forward, tucking our toes under. Legs are off the floor. Spreading the feet wide, taking the hips down, rolling shoulders back. And again, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Taking these down, untucking toes, chest comes down, child's pose. Even with child's pose being thought of as a resting posture, we can even go deeper in it. Still trying to get my butt to my heels more, trying to feel more of a stretch in my back. And again, inhale, looking through our hands. Exhale, coming forward, tucking toes under, wide feet. Last one here, dipping the pelvis down, setting up our shoulders, dipping. 2, 3, and 4. Taking legs down, chest and child's pose. Feel the wind picking up outside. Feels so nice. It's been so hot here. Inhale, looking up through those hands and bring your chest forward, coming back into that plank, tucking toes under, taking our hips back into our first downward dog. So we're trying to press our heels closer to the mat, pushing shoulders and chest towards those thighs. If we need, we can walk this dog out, bending one leg at a time. Doesn't have to be the deepest downward dog of the day. Try saying that 3 times fast. All together, straightening both legs wherever we are, bending them both. Next inhalation, looking through the hands. Exhale, walking our feet forward and fold. Inhale, bring yourself on up. Exhale, releasing those arms down. Shaking them out. That was a lot for our arms. So I want to take a moment just to talk about some things that are making this a unique flow when we are going to do things with our legs, or specifically our feet and other extremities. So one thing that makes things dancer specific is how we do our extensions. So generally in yoga, we're gonna have nice wide palms, wide hands and fingers, or we're gonna have our peace fingers, or we're going to be making some mudra with our hands. With dance, we know that we typically have this very delicate, our delicate fingers, rounding our arms slightly. So depending on our comfort, what we want to do is just keep making sure that we are completing an extension. We don't want to have a hand or a foot that is limp at the end of an excited and energized leg or arm. So whichever place we're at, we're still going to lengthen and engage through those fingertips, through those toes. When it comes to our feet, we still have the option of flexing, which is very common in traditional yoga, or we can point that foot. I personally like the floint, where my foot is pointed but my toes are flexed. I feel like I'm able to energize and engage my feet the most when I'm in a posture. You've got those 3 options whenever we've got our feet doing something. With our hands, essentially you've got the same options as well. You can stop in the name of love, flexing our hands back like this, or point it, I suppose, doing like a dancer's point, or you can go ahead and energize through those fingers as we would in traditional yoga. So the point is that wherever we are, we want to complete our extension in all of these postures, whether it's downward dog, three-legged dog, warrior, or even these waterfalls. So our next thing that we're going to do, we're going to start undulating. So I'll come down to my knees to do this top part of it, and then the next part we're going to do with the lower body. So with the top part of our body, I'm going to take my arms into the air, and I'm going to imagine that I'm a snake or that I'm something really slinky. So I'm trying to get my arms and head to go forward first, and then my chest and lower back follow it. Then I'm dipping under or around something. My head and fingers are following, my head follows my fingers, my lower back follows my head. Curving, my fingers go forward again, curving my shoulders and back, and then I arch to come around it. So if I speed this up, it's kind of like I'm swimming. Bring your arms down just for a moment. A piece in this that I want to think about is what my core is doing. So as I'm arching, I'm letting it go a little bit. And then as soon as I start to dip my shoulders in, I start to engage the core to pull my spine in one vertebrae at a time. So again, let's try this. We're dipping forward, curving, curving, and arching, arching, arching. And again, dipping, 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 arching, arching, arching. And releasing the arms down, feeling the engagement all the way through our core. Bringing ourselves to our feet, or if we're already standing, we're focusing on the lower body now. So the same thing is going to happen where my hips are going to lead and my feet are going to follow. So of course, to get my hips to move, I have to do something with my torso, but I'm thinking of taking the hips forward, and then my knees and feet want to follow. So hips, knees, feet, hips, knees, feet. Hips go back, backs of my knees, and then my toes or my heels are following. A little awkward just trying to do the lower half, so let's put it together. And if having your palms facing one way is a little awkward, then go ahead and have them facing towards each other if that feels more natural for like a swim. So here we are, nice and long, dipping ourselves forward and then coming back. Spreading my feet a little wider, perhaps bending one leg at a time. This is where I start to make this my own. I'm trying to get some nice waves in my spine, feeling my back stretching, perhaps in a new way. And last one, bring your arms down. Maybe a new feeling all in our back. So now we're going to do something that perhaps we've seen and maybe we've not done. So some folks call it snake arms. We do one at a time. I like to call it bird arms, doing them at the same time. So I'm thinking of bringing my shoulders, the backs of my arms, then my elbows, then my forearms, then my wrists, and then my fingers up. So I curve my arms up, letting my fingers be the last thing then to come up. Then my shoulders come down, the backs of my arms, my elbows, forearms, wrists, and fingers. Shoulders come up, 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 drawing my arms up, and then bringing them down. Connecting this with my breathing. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, shoulders, elbows, wrists. Inhale, flapping my wings. Exhale, bringing them down. And bringing them down. Okay, so if you're practicing alone, you don't have to worry about anybody seeing how you look with this next one. We're just trying to get every single joint in the body moving. So we're going to put those two motions together, kind of like tapping our head and rubbing our belly. So remembering the first motion, we're bringing our body through these waves in this plane. With our second motion, we're bringing our arms up and down in this plane and connecting them together. It's almost as though I'm trying to fly and swim at the same time. So we want to connect this with our breathing. We'll inhale on bringing our arms up. Exhale on bringing ourselves down, stepping forward with the other foot. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, body comes down. Taking a few breaths here, we're going to do 3 rounds of this. Inhale. Next inhalation. Exhale again. Remembering engaging our core for this last one, arching and then sucking those abs in, curling the back. Nice. So keeping with this undulating feeling in our spine, we're going to take that down to our downward dog. Now that we're nice and loose again from all that arm work we did a moment ago. So when we're in our downward dog, it's going to be here, pushing myself back, hips are back, chest is pushing close to my thighs. I'm going to get up on the balls of my feet and curl my back, pushing my weight forward. Then I'm going to come down, flatten out in that plank, bend my knees, bend my arms, push my weight back as I'm arching my back, grounding in those feet again, pushing into the downward dog. And we keep moving, curling our back, getting on the balls of those feet, sucking that belly button into our spine. Weight goes forward. In our plank, flatten out, then we arch, bending our legs, bending the arms, pushing the weight back. Hips get high, heels go down, chest close to our thighs. We'll do 3 rounds of that. I definitely encourage you to stay on your mat for that. The rug's a little slippery there. Starting at the top of our mat, we're going to ground ourselves in our mountain pose, go through half of the sun salutation to get us down to that wavy dog. Inhale, lifting our arms up. Exhale, folding down. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, hands down, taking it back into our plank, lowering our plank all the way down to the floor, untucking toes, pushing chest up, cobra. Tucking the toes, pushing hips back, downward dog. Taking a breath here. Inhale, shifting that weight forward. Exhale, bending the knees and arms, pushing our weight back, arching that back. Back in that dog. Inhale, curling the back, belly button in toward our spine. Exhale, pushing them back. Keep it moving. Keeping our elbows in towards our sides as we push through that plank, trying to curl our back as much as possible, almost like we're in a cat, then arching as though we're in that cow. Coming here in our plank, lowering all the way down to the mat, untucking our toes, pushing our chest up. Cobra again, looking up, tucking toes under, hips go back, back in that downward dog. Inhale, looking forward. Exhale, walking it in and fold. Inhale, arms come up. And in our mountain pose. Awesome. We're going to go back into our downward dog for one more thing. We're going to be going into our three-legged dog. If we need a moment to give our shoulders some rest, we're just going to hold the arms out, be here in our mountain pose as I explain this one. So we're going to come into our downward dog, and I'll lift one leg up. Gonna bend my leg and open up my hips, turning to look either above my arm, depending on my flexibility, or I'll keep pushing my chest to look through my armpit to find those toes. Then I'll turn my hips back square, lifting that leg up, pushing my chest towards that leg again, bending, opening my hip up, looking for my foot, and straightening out my leg again. Going through 3 rounds of that on each side. If we want, we can make it into a bit of an undulation itself, get a little sassy with it. That's just fine. You gotta make this our own today. On our next inhale, lifting our arms up. Exhale, coming down. Inhale, flat back. Hands down, stepping back. Pushing up, taking it back. Grounding our hands, grounding that left foot, right leg comes up. Remember, pointing, flexing or flointing here. Pushing our chest towards our left thigh. Shoulders are still engaged here. Trying to get that left heel down towards the floor. Lifting our right leg a little higher, bending that leg, opening up the hip, feeling the stretch through our right side. Looking for that foot either underneath our armpit or over our arm. Breathing here. And straighten the leg. Squaring our hips. Feeling this downward dog, our three-legged dog again. Setting it up, checking our form, bending that right leg. Continue pushing your mat away. Continue pushing chest towards our thigh. One more time, straighten the leg, square the hips, check our form. Lifting that right leg a little higher and bending it one last time, opening the hip. Feeling even more of a stretch in our right side. And leg comes up. Bring it down. Looking up through our hands, bring our chest forward into our plank, lower all the way down, pressing up into our cobra. And pushing back. Remembering if we need a moment to rest, we can always bring our knees down, untuck our toes, push back into child's pose. With child's pose, we can either keep our arms outstretched in front or bring them back here next to our legs, resting our forehead on the mat. Taking one more breath wherever we are. Pushing back into downward dog. Pushing the mat away, shifting our weight into that right foot, lifting the left into the air. Checking our form. Fingers are spread nice and wide. Driving that right heel to the mat and open up the hip, bending our left leg. Looking for that foot. Really trying to look underneath that right armpit. Finding that bent leg, that foot. Perhaps waving to ourselves with our toes. And straighten the leg back out. Lift it nice and high. Push our chest towards our thigh. Heel drives down towards the floor. And bend the leg again. Open up our hip. Checking our form here. Oh, starting to twist too much. Balance that weight in our hands and shoulders. Then open up that hip. Straighten the leg back out. Lift it up a little higher, squaring our hips. And open it up one last time. Finding those toes. And stretch it back up straight. And bring it down. Resting in this downward dog. Probably getting those heels even closer to the mat. Firing up our legs today. Next, inhale, look forward. Exhale, walk it in. And fold. Inhale, arms up. And bring them down. Good time. So if we would like, we can get a block nearby. We're going to do a wide leg fold. If we don't need the block, then we don't need the block. So what we're going to do is come to the center of our mat. I told you it's windy here today. My curtains are getting all tangled. We're going to come to the center of our mat. Open up our hands, ground through our feet. Centering in this mountain pose. Opening our feet wide. Nice wide stance. Take our arms out. Bring our hands to our hips. You can go ahead and find our hip bones, keeping 2 fingers there, then my thumb around the back. I inhale, make my spine nice and tall. Exhale, take my hips back, forcing my pelvis to tilt and chest comes down. Trapping my fingers here in this fold, really extending my spine with each inhale. Extend my spine, exhale, take my belly closer to my thigh. Inhale, flatten out, exhale, fold more. Eventually my gaze is going in between my legs towards whatever is behind me. Legs are still engaged here, still using my toes to grab onto the mat, to spread over the mat. Feeling the in and outsides of my feet working to keep me stable. One more inhale, long spine. Exhale, release the hands down to the floor. Inhale, nice flat spine. Exhale, we're gonna turn our heels in, bring our hips down. If your feet are too far apart, go ahead and just heel toe them in a little bit, bringing hips down, hands come off the mat, palms together, prayer, pushing our knees open, trying to get our hands at heart center as we're here in our garland pose. Again, with each inhalation, our spine grows so tall. Exhale, we draw our hips and pelvis down closer to the ground, pushing my knees open a little bit more, relaxing my pelvis. Next inhale, we're standing all the way up, hands come up towards the sky. Exhale, arms down. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, palms together, bending our legs right back into that garland. Head is up, neutral, neck. Whenever I'm in a tough pose, especially a hip opener like this, I like to smile. Makes it a little easier. No reason to get frustrated when my body is doing something it doesn't usually do. Next inhalation, everything comes up. Powerful legs, pushing ourselves up. Exhale, arms down. One more time. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, bring it back down. The more I press into my palms, the more my pelvis comes down to straighten my spine. One more good. Inhale, strong spine. Exhale, hands down to the floor. Take those heels out and fold forward. Inhale, chest up, flat back. Exhale, heel toe our feet in. Curl our back to stand up. Awesome. For our last pose today, we're going to not go so deep. If we know that we already have a full dancer's pose, that's awesome, but I just want to stop at holding my leg out since we're doing such intense leg activities. So I'm going to bring myself to the center of the mat, grounding in this mountain pose. Shift my weight over to my left foot, hands to my hips, lifting my right leg off of the mat. I can stay right here. This is as deep as I have to go, as anyone has to go today. But if I want to go a little deeper, I'll hold that knee into my chest. If I want to go a little deeper than that, I'll hold on to that knee with my opposite hand and reach for the toes with the same hand. So I'm holding on to my right toe with my right hand. Inhale, lengthening my spine, engaging my standing leg, not locking that knee out, engaged. Exhale, I take my leg out in front of me. I can straighten it out or keep it slightly bent, depending on your own flexibility. Inhale, long spine. Exhale, strong leg. Again, if you'd like more of a challenge here, you can begin to take that leg around to the back. You've got the shoulder flexibility. You'll bring that leg as high as your body can today. But for me, I think we've done a lot of work, so I'm going to keep this leg right here in front. Still pretty engaged, trying to get my shin parallel to the floor. And exhale, release it all down, shaking my legs out. So whether our leg is bent or straight, we want to make some kind of nice lines. Always want to complete an extension. So when I have my leg bent, I am trying to bring that knee in towards my shoulder, and then complete this line here. If I have my leg straight, it's not parallel to the floor, but I am trying to keep a nice straight line there, working on that flexibility. So I'm either working on the strength of that leg or the flexibility. The strength of the leg, flexibility of the hip, or the flexibility of the back of our leg. Whatever option we're doing, we've got to do it on the other side. So let's shift our weight into that right leg. Start bringing that left leg up. Choosing where we want to go next. I'm reaching for those toes. Inhale, go a little bit deeper. Exhale, feeling how powerful we are here. Inhale, tall spine, strong standing leg. Exhale, extending a little bit further if that's what we're doing. Face is gentle. One more good inhale. Exhale, release everything down. Back in our mountain pose one last time. Nice. We're going to start to end our practice today down on our mat. As this storm continues to blow through. So we'll come to sit on our mat, legs out in front of us. We'll lower ourselves down to lie down one vertebrae at a time, nice and gentle. Flexing our feet, keeping our legs together. I'm going to rotate my shoulders so I'm on the backs of my arms, but my palms are still on the mat. I'm going to arch my back so that my head comes off of the mat. The top of my head is on the mat, and I'm in a fish pose. I push into my arms, into my palms to curl my spine again, lowering myself down. Again, palms are flat. I rotate my elbows in towards my sides, getting the backs of my arms on the mat. I arch my chest up to get my head off of the mat. Top of the head is on the mat. I'm looking behind me. Exhale, taking my head off, relaxing my arms. Bringing my knees into my chest, giving myself a big hug here, rocking from side to side, relaxing my lower back. If I want, I can even bring my head off of the mat to curl all of my spine. And then release my legs out, release my arms out to the side. Lying here in our final pose of relaxation, feeling the effects of everything that we've done, scanning our body for any places that might still have some tension, might still be engaged. I like to start at my toes, gripping them, tucking them in, and then releasing them. Moving my ankles around, and then letting them flop open. Engaging my knees, legs, glutes, and releasing. Moving my pelvis around a little. Feeling my core engaged, and then releasing them all. Letting my shoulder blades open up, giving them some room on the mat. Shrugging my shoulders in, wiggling them around. Even take a moment to bend my arms, making fists with my hands, engaging my biceps, and then just letting my arms flop open. Checking in with my neck and face. Moving my head from side to side, finding that neutral spine. Unclenching my jaw, relaxing my tongue, letting my eyes close, my forehead relax, sinking into natural breathing. We start to feel our body on the mat on our body. Begin noticing our room, our space again. Getting back to being in tune with our breath, continuing that connection. Beginning to wiggle our fingers and toes. Moving our hands and our feet, wrists and ankles. Moving our legs and arms, just enough to get the power back into them. Engaging our core so that we can roll onto one side. Staying here for a moment, feeling the weight of our body shifted. Gently pressing ourselves up to sitting. Comfortable seated posture. Hands on our knees or in our lap or at our heart. Ending as we began, with a strong spine, neutral head. Taking a moment for a last set of intentional breaths. In through our nose, out through our nose. Again. And one last time. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for your patience and adapting to this weather and to this world that we are currently in with me. Until next time, the light in me appreciates and enjoys and acknowledges the light in each of you.